Have you ever spared a thought for the unassuming garbage cans lining the corners of your street? Probably not. After all, who wants to dwell in matters as mundane as garbage disposal? However, between the years 1992 and 1997, a waste management company orchestrated a scandal of epic proportions, thrusting the mundane into the realm of intrigue and deception. Join me as we unravel the captivating narrative behind this audacious act of deceit. Prior to the 1950s, local administrations or individual municipal companies were the ones who got rid of waste. The regulations about how they did it were not so strict, so they were often just dumping it everywhere. By the same token, the bigger the industries became, the more waste they generated. People began to purchase more and more commodities, which in return produced more residue. It was messy and they wanted to keep it clean, so they created the new rules. When you bought a product, the packaging was the part that was not recyclable and needed to be disposed of later. In this connection, a business called Ace Scavengers came to this waste. Later, a man by the name Dane Buntrock led the company to a new name of the waste management. He increased the size of the company by purchasing new tools and trucks from the money he generated by having the company in public. Waste management performed even better. It even brought about a profit of more than $1 billion in the 1980s. They were even in trouble for doing things illegally, like dumping waste products where they should not be. Yet, they confessed their errors and continued the trail. The change didn't occur until 1992, when the waste industry finally began to change. The profits of the company started to reduce. Of course, there could be many reasons for that, but I think that one of the main factors was the economy. By the beginning of the 1990s, the economy had not been performing its best, and so the demand for goods became a bit lower than usual. Eventually, with the demand for goods reduced, less waste was being produced. Now, it was a case where the company didn't have to declare itself bankrupt. No, waste management operations hadn't come to this point at all. However, the company was not only up against a real challenge, but also a genuine one. The issue is that when your business goes public, its stakeholders, most notably its shareholders, want to know how the company is performing. In addition, those who are interested in purchasing additional shares view the financials in order to predict their earnings, aside from those who currently hold shares. The SEC brought legal action against Waste Management in 2002, bringing to light this shocking example of deception. Nevertheless, the Enron crisis, which was the year's most talked about case, kept this one out of the public media. That being said, it's important to keep in mind while discussing significant financial scandals throughout history. Therefore, when Waste Management's income decreased in 1992, they deviated from the truth rather than reporting the poor numbers as they were. The Waste Management affair was primarily a financial and accounting scam in which the stated statistics were made in an effort to maintain stakeholder interest and draw in new investors. In other words, the company essentially inflated its sales statistics and purposefully left out a few significant costs from their financial reports. Before I continue, however, allow me to briefly explain a few accounting and financial phrases that you may find difficult to grasp. I will, however, make every effort to explain things as simply as I can. Thus, Waste Management eliminated certain items entirely in certain situations and made minor adjustments to their financial statements in other situations to reflect income that wasn't there. The public learned how Waste Management pulled it off when the SEC brought a case against the CEO and 5 other executives, and the results were made public. The first step was changing the depreciation amount in their financial statements. For the benefit of those who are unfamiliar with depreciation, let me explain. Basically, when you purchase an asset that will take some time to deplete, you cannot count its entire value as an expense. For example, you cannot include the cost of a garbage truck as an expense in your balance sheet for a single year because the truck will last for several years. Therefore, the salvage value of an asset is deducted from its total value and divided by the number of years it would endure in order to properly calculate the depreciation statistics for any asset. Things really took off at this point. Waste Management accomplished 2 things. It enhanced the salvage value and extended the duration. As a result, the depreciation charge recorded in that year's financial statement was reduced. This is a single accounting bug that they fiddled with. Some more are also worthy of note. their failure to lower the value of other assets and their representations constituted their second deception. For instance, the value of garbage as an asset is meant to decline as it accumulates in landfills since eventually it becomes unusable. Waste Management, however, didn't take such action. Rather, they continued to write themselves some random numbers. Other frauds they committed included failing to indicate the costs of unsuccessful projects, attributing salvage prices to items that had no salvage value at all, and using incorrect numbers of their assets to avoid paying income taxes, which resulted in a drop in expenses. It wouldn't have been so much fraud if they had only misled the SEC with their exaggerated data. The stakeholders were duped. Every precaution they took and fraud they perpetrated was geared at presenting exaggerated revenue figures in their financial accounts, and everything worked out perfectly for them. You're probably thinking, wait a minute, did Waste Management really think that they could pull off all these frauds on their own without outside assistance? Obviously not. Then, they weren't accountants, but they did know how to dispose of your trash. Waste Management has recruited Arthur Andersen as the company to handle their accounts. This company's involvement in the Enron affair should be well known to you if you have heard of it previously, but that is a discussion for another day. Let's get back to Waste Management. Thus, Arthur Andersen's accountants were urged by Waste Management CEO Dean Buntrock to enhance the company's financial statements, and they complied. The accountants would occasionally ask, how are we supposed to write this? For instance, the accountants did ask when Dean requested to give salvage value to an asset that had no salvage value at all. But according to reports, Waste Management's reaction was, we know it's neither rational nor do we have any proof for this, but let's just go forward with it for now as it's what we want. Surprisingly, the company followed through on its promises. I suppose that everyone was dealing with financial difficulties at the time, so losing a significant client was out of the question. But fear not, as with the other 5 CEOs, Arthur Andersen and the CEO of Waste Management have both accepted responsibility for their crimes. In addition to the roughly $30 million in fines that Waste Management paid, Arthur Andersen was additionally assessed $220 million to compensate for the losses incurred by stakeholders. Though their penalty wasn't commensurate with their offenses, that's what it is. Waste Management is performing really well right now. In recent years, there have been some impressive sales numbers. You get the point. They reported $20 billion in sales in 2023. Their fraudulent activities will always be a black mark on their record. That brings an end to it. Please share your thoughts about this controversy with me. That concludes this video. I sincerely hope the video was enjoyable to you. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Additionally, if you haven't already, kindly click the bell icon to receive notifications in the future and subscribe to the channel. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.